Hey, this is Steven from Steven's Classic Garage, and welcome back to another update on my 1965 Mustang restoration. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of my learnings here with some of my findings with this cut and buff of this Euro from Smart Euro Clear, which is also the same as the 5-star Extreme Eurostar clear coat with a K. So pretty much the same exact stuff. And remember, my base coat is the Duplicolor Paint Shop Molten Red Metallic, and that is my base coat. Is a Molten Red Metallic, and you can see the metallic there. And my clear coat is that brand of clear coat. So basically what I've learned is that indeed I believe that a big issue was that the material was not hard, so that's what caused the rippling. So there is still a little bit of rippling down there. Let me see if I go really slowly there at the back side. There is a little bit of rippling back there in the back. Hopefully you guys can see that. I see some. There's definitely some right there. Look at the lower part of the shelf right there. Look at that lip of the shelf. So you kind of see the lip of the shelf kind of meandering back and forth. Obviously it's going to kind of stretch because this guy gets flat towards the end. But so that's where I probably didn't block the best. Whoa, there's some big ripples right there. Big ripple. So down there's still ripples, probably because it's not perfectly flat. I didn't block it back. So what I did is I blocked it down with 1000 again manually. Then I went with 1000 on the DA. Again, the 1000 on the DA looks like this. This is the 1000 on the DA, again, Smart brand. So I went a little too extreme on that. If you could see, I went all the way down to black and bare metal, pretty much almost all the way down now. Yeah, it's actually black almost all the way down now. So I should not have done that. I mean, I blocked it with 1000. So what I should have done is I should have just hand blocked it around the edge and then just cleaned it up with the 1000 around the extremity in the center here. Because basically why I'm doing the 1000 is kind of even out all the scratches to make sure I didn't miss anything with the DA. But I'm going to change it probably the next round of this. So I am indeed going to, because I went through so much here, I'm probably just going to repaint. And I'm also running out of clear now because I've sanded so much of it off. So basically what I'm going to do is sand it all with probably 800 or 600 or so, something like that. Probably 800, because I don't want to use so much color to cover over any scratches or anything. So I'm probably just going to use 800 to cut it down, and I'll probably spray right over the clear. Basically I'm going to use the clear and the color to block it. So I'm going to block it back, and then whatever I get, and then I'll probably primer this edge with that can, so I don't have to spray so much to cover over the silver spots. So that's kind of the idea. So I'm going to block it back with 800, then I might step it up to 1000, and then spray like 2 coats of color, and then obviously once I spray the primer over the 800, I'll sand that down with a 1000, and then I'll shoot it, and then I'll clear it with, again, another 3 coats of clear, a quarter liter. And then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it outside, so that should be about after I get home from work. So I'll be done about 6, 7 o'clock. It'll go outside, and it'll sit outside uncovered until the sun comes up the next morning. And by then, it should be able to take direct sunlight. Obviously, it's going to be medium sunlight till it goes over top. And then it's going to be at 11, 12 o'clock. That's when it's going to be full UV. And that's when it's going to really start to let the acetone. So by then it will have almost maybe 6 hours plus another 8 hours. So that's about 14 hours. It's about 14 hours of no sun. And then it will start to get sun, and then it will have another 4 hours until it hits full intensity sun. So about 18 hours to 20 hours of sitting outside before it gets hit by the sun, and then about 4 to 5 hours of intense sun, and then a whole nother end day of the kind of lowering the UV until it goes into night. So while that's happening, the next panel I'll be working on, I'll be prepping that guy by sanding it, shooting primer over any spots that are like that, blocking it again with 1000, getting that ready to go. And then so that will be the hood, and then I'll shoot the bottom first, so sand and prep the bottom, shoot the bottom, and then by the time those 2 days are done, this guy could come back, or I could store this guy, because this guy's gonna be done, so I'm gonna store it somewhere in the back, and then I could bring in the, and then I'm gonna basically do the same thing with the hood. So by that time it would be 6 o'clock, put the hood back there, and then upside down, so no paint on the backside, so not worried about it scratching or anything on the backside. And then that will give me 2 days to prep a new panel. And then by the time those 2.5 days are up, that guy could come back in and sit down on the paint, and I'll probably sand both sides, so I'm not so aggressive with this guy moving like that and sliding on the foam and making a mess of the bottom side. So I'll probably sand both sides first, paint the bottom, put it back, come back, set it on top of the foam in 2.5 days, and then spray the top. And then do the same deal, put it outside, 2.5 days, 3 days, direct sun. Obviously it gets a half day non-direct sun, and then a day of direct sun. And then after that, after I've done those two, I could store it, and the next panel does, and do the same thing with the next panel. That way, when I'm completely finished with all the panels, they would have been baking. If I start back with this guy doing my prep on it, if I start back with this guy doing my prep on it, this guy would have been hardened for about 2 to 3 weeks. So this guy will be super hard, and I don't have to worry about it, because clearly now it's way better. Now they've let it harden, and so now it's really good. And an example of that is that this can had paint and acetone in it, albeit it had a lot of acetone in it, and it finally set up to and shrunk, and then now it's like this. It still has acetone in it. I can still smell the acetone. That's been about 4 days sitting in here, all day, not being disturbed, and it took that long. Obviously that's when I've been cleaning the gun, so that's also another point. So after all of that, I might put it on the car first, test fit it, and then take it off, and then set everything up, and then, well, I'll probably do it first, and then seal it, and then put it on the car so it's a little bit protected, and obviously tape off the edges and stuff, and then set all my jams and whatnot. So when I go to buff, we're going to talk about that. So basically the same deal. We're getting a little bit better results with the rotary. We did buy a wool pad right here for the DA. Kind of getting mixed results. I think these cutting pads are better. So what I did is I did the wool pad, and then I did why is this one? Okay, so then I did polish on the cutting disc, and then I did this one that's not glaze, that's swirl remover. So swirl remover on the finishing pad, and then I did glaze on this pad here, and then that's basically where we're at right now. So, but we ended up, instead of this guy, we went back over the rotary and we got a little bit better results. So we're going to try to figure that out. But I'll show you guys here. This is really good. So we do still have some issues. So there are some deep scratches. You can see, I hope you could see them. There's tiny little scratches all the way down. They're not as dense as before. So I could definitely tell that the paint is harder. It might not be the perfect hardness yet, so I'm thinking that this paint either, so another thing is I might not have waited long enough between my coats. I waited about 17 minutes, probably should have waited between, and I paint it while it's cold, and I have fast reducer. So I probably should have waited longer between the coats of the clear, just to let it flash off a little bit more before I coated it again. So obviously I'm going to make that adjustment. And with that adjustment, I will probably get way better results the next time that I do this guy. So that is the idea, is to let it sit for a couple weeks, obviously under direct sun, and it will definitely be all flashed out by then. But on all my coats, wait longer between the next coats. So, and then we have some big scratches, a big guy right here. I'm thinking it looks like it's from the rotary or something. And then another few big scratches in various different places. So I'm thinking that that is from either something falling onto the pad, or we're not getting the removal. We don't have enough cut with the compound. So again, we're using this guy. We might need to use a more aggressive compound to get that out. Alright, so I'm going to break this into two parts, this update for today, and so stay tuned for part 2.